Roger had always been obsessed with one goal: to run a mile in under 4 minutes. No one had ever done it. Scientists, doctors, and running experts all agreed that it was humanly impossible. They claimed that the human body simply wasn't built to run that fast for that long. Muscles would tear, hearts would give out, and the physical toll would be catastrophic. But Roger didn't listen. Ever since he was a boy, the dream of breaking the 4-minute mile had been alive inside him. It burned brightly even when others tried to extinguish it. He told his fellow runners about his goal, hoping they might share in his vision, but they only laughed. "You're crazy," they said. "If you try that, you'll collapse like a racehorse at full gallop. You'll die trying." The taunt stung, but Roger didn't give up. Instead, he turned inward, and in a fleeting vision he saw himself doing it. He practiced harder, but it wasn't just about his physical training. He knew that something deeper needed to change. One evening, after another grueling session at the track, he sat in his small room, closed his eyes, and began to breathe. Slowly, deeply, with intention. He calmed his mind, letting all the doubts and fears drift away. As he continued to breathe, something shifted within him. He entered a dreamlike state, where everything felt still, yet alive. In his mind, he saw himself on the track, running effortlessly. His stride was smooth, powerful, and fast. He felt his breath align perfectly with the rhythm of his feet, as though every part of his body was working in perfect harmony. In his vision, he heard the faint tap of his feet barely touching the ground, and he felt his heart beating steadily, almost gently, as though he wasn't pushing himself at all. He was flying. The finish line appeared ahead, the clock ticking away. But this time, as he crossed the line, the clock stopped at 3:59. Roger felt an overwhelming surge of joy and relief. He had done it. He had broken the barrier. He let the feeling wash over him. The happiness, the accomplishment, the sheer awe of achieving what everyone had told him was impossible. It felt so real, so vivid, that when he opened his eyes, he could still feel the exhilaration coursing through him. He knew the truth now. The power of visualization is real. The power of intent is as strong as how you feel. Taking the time to do the mental work was as important as his physical training. He had already broken the 4-minute mile in his mind, and his body simply had to follow. Then, one fateful day, it happened. The stadium was quiet, but a few people had gathered to watch him. No one believed he could do it, but they were curious nonetheless. Roger stood at the starting line, taking in deep, measured breaths, feeling the calmness he had practiced for so long. He knew the run was already complete in his mind. It was simply time for reality to catch up. The gun went off, and Roger ran. The world around him seemed to blur as he focused on the rhythm of his steps, his breathing, his heartbeat. Everything felt effortless, just like in his dream. Time seemed to slow as he approached the final lap, the clock ticking dangerously close to 4 minutes. But Roger didn't falter. With one final burst of speed, he crossed the finish line, glancing up at the giant clock. 3:59. He had done it. For a moment the world seemed to freeze. There was silence, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Then, cheers erupted from the few onlookers. They had witnessed history. Roger had done what everyone said was impossible, but the most incredible thing wasn't Roger's achievement, it was what happened next. Now that people had seen it, now that they knew it was possible, something shifted in the running world. One by one, other runners began to break the 4-minute mile. Runners who had once thought the feat was beyond them now believed, because they had seen Roger do it. Most people relied on their 5 senses to tell them what was real. They believed something only when they could see it, touch it, hear it. But Roger had gone beyond his senses. He had believed in the power of his dreams, in the vision that had played out so clearly in his mind. After all, he had a secret weapon. He used the power of binaural beats combined with subliminal messages that he created using his own voice. His subconscious mind believed in his vision. Even though the world had said it was impossible, Roger had proved them wrong, not just by running fast, but by believing in something greater than what his eyes could see. In the end, he showed the world that the real barrier wasn't in their bodies, but in their minds.
Mantra beats changing the world's frequency.